about learning new stuff. You can see me sitting here at the lovely hotel in Faaborg because I have joined the Yarn Festival by the sea, and look at this gorgeous view. We are living here just by the sea, and I've attended courses in how to spice up your knitwear, so with sequins and beads and different structures of yarn. And also today I will join a course with Sidsel Høivik on how to embroider on Norwegian knitwear. So I'm so much looking forward to it. And meanwhile, in all the breaks, I knit at the final 3 trunk sweater to be ready for the photo shoot. So let's get started with all the lovely experience from here.
Så da brukte jeg, det var de formene der, så jeg brukte, I stedet for å rekke opp, og så broderte jeg over. Så jukse litt innimellom. Hello Inge, I'm glad I'm sorry you lost my workshop. You missed my workshop, but I'm very glad you caught me in the last minute after my workshop. So we could have a little talk and I can show you some of my models.
Yeah.
And tell you a little about my knitting life.
Yeah. I'd like to know, how did you start?
Well, I started when I was 4 and I've never been bored since. Because I have almost always needles and some yarn in my hands. And always my head is always spinning when with colors and new ideas.
Yeah, great.
And so I've been knitting throughout all my life. And when I was in my when I was 23, more or less, I started school I started to study in Rome. I went to Accademia di Costume di Moda in Rome for 4 years. And we didn't do much knitting there, but when I came home, I started to freelance design for different yarn companies throughout Scandinavia.
Okay.
And while I had other jobs, for many years I was working in a furry company, Color Line. I was working 14 days and had 14 days off, and I was freelancing when I had my time off. Year 2000, I got a job in a big editorial house in a magazine called Familien, and I was working with the handicrafts there. Yeah. So I was doing mostly the knitting stuff. I was responsible for that. And when there were downsizes, if you can say that, in 2009, I lost my job there. And then I was 50 and almost 50, and I thought, what am I going to do now? Yeah. And well, I thought if I was ever going to try to work 100% as a designer, it's now or never. Yeah. And there it is. I took the chance, and it's been tough many times. So it's not the easy way to. It's not the easiest thing to do. No. And in the year 2015, I founded my company, Sidsel Hoivik.no, and which is a web where I sell my designs or yarn kits for my.
Okay. Should we have a look at your knitwear? What's your knitwear called in Norwegian?
Strikketøy.
Strikketøy?
Yeah. But that's before it's finished.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you have, you say plug?
Plug.
Yeah. How do you translate that to English?
Plug. something you wear. Garment, yeah, actually garment. That's right.
Great. I think it's a great word.
But my nicest models.
Yeah.
They're down in the
exhibition in the
museum right now.
But I will show the clippings. Yeah, I've made some photos.
Yeah. That's nice. So this is for the class where I teach many of these
embroideries.
Yes, these embroideries, the techniques I use.
Could you say what are they called? I'm a novice in
these are the bullion stitches.
Yeah.
Jernbanesting.
Yeah.
Maskesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't remember the name in English.
No, we can figure it out.
And these are kjedesting.
Yeah.
Chain stitches.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah. Great.
And here I have some chain stitches too, bullion stitches, and French knots.
Yeah. French knots. Are they the rosa?
And I remember the name. Yeah, these are bullion stitches, and the little knots are French knots.
Okay.
And here I have used the duplicate stitches.
Yeah. Duplicate and.
Yes, because well, the pattern is like this, and here it's embroidered.
Yeah.
All you see in colors here.
So actually, when people think, "Wow, this is very complicated," Sidsel's design, it's actually only two colors.
Only two colors. I work, I knit with two colors, and if I want more colors in the garment, I very often use the duplicate stitches.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah. Smart.
So you can fill in. It's almost like filling in, like you draw.
Yeah. And besides being very beautiful, these what's it called? Button bands.
Button bands,
they are also very stable.
Yes. This is not well. Here I made some mistakes. I
don't think we would see it.
But here this is more correct.
Yes. Let's look at it. So you kind of invented these.
Yes, the button bands are both
crocheted.
Yeah, they're both crocheted and knitted.
Yeah.
I stand up because I fell down very
low.
So here it's you start knitting.
Yeah.
And you have one ridge, and you make like a folding band or something. Yeah. And here it's the same. You start here and go over here.
Yeah.
And bind off.
Yeah.
And here you have one ridge, and you start to crochet into this.
Yeah, and you make the buttonhole also in the crochet.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe that's easier. Or what do you think?
Yes, it's easy, and they're very stable.
Yeah. And helps the garment be in place. Sometimes you know when you have buttons, it falls down because the buttons are heavy.
Okay.
Have you experienced that?
No, not really.
In your garments.
No. Yes, I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the button bands in this way, they're very stable.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with them.
Very beautiful.
And you can see them in most of my garments in the exhibition too.
Yeah, and even this one is also two-color work.
Yes. And this is my bestseller, Morgendis, or Morning Mist.
Morning Mist.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you knit in these two colors, and the brown and the light blue is embroidered with duplicate stitches.
Yeah.
The same here, that motif.
Yeah.
On each sleeve.
It's very beautiful. And could you tell me how do you do this?
Well, I just knit, knit and round.
Yeah. So you start bottom up.
I started bottom up.
And
I have one ridge, and afterwards I crochet into the ridge.
Yeah. And I'm a bit curious, Sidsel, because viewers on my channel, they not necessarily come from Denmark. So how do they find your designs, and how about delivery and so on?
Yeah, very much from Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
With the same name, sidselhoivik.no.
Yeah.
Most people find me there.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people talk about it too, so from people to people, but person to person, but mostly from social media.
Yeah.
And most of my customers are actually from outside of Norway.
Yeah. Okay.
From very many from Denmark, Germany, USA, Australia, Canada, Italy, Spain, many from Netherlands too.
Yeah.
So most of my patterns are translated to English.
Yeah.
And very many for my yarn kits are also translated to Dutch, and some even to German.
Okay. That's great.
And my last book I can show you.
Yeah.
Well, last book, these are the books. I have 3 books, and this one was published 2021, and all texts and patterns are in both English and Norwegian in the same book. So it's one column in Norwegian and the other one in English.
I'll try to zoom in here.
Yeah, maybe you can see it better in some.
Yeah.
No. Well.
I can take a picture afterwards. Perhaps.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So one column in native language, and then in the. Okay. Great.
And the other 2 are in Norwegian, but still very many foreigners buy them.
Yeah.
If you are quite
experienced
knitter, it's you understand most of it, because most of the designs are with charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not that hard to understand.
No, fine.
And for the delivery, I ship to most countries.
Yeah.
Worldwide. I have sent to more than 40 countries.
Wow.
But I send them as letters.
Yeah.
Under 2 kilos.
Yeah. So that's more favorable in pricing.
Yes. And
for the customer, that is.
For the freight.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to do, and I have to do everything myself. So.
Yeah. You're not a.
I don't have a big team.
No.
Behind me.
So everything is touched by Sidsel when you
get
it. Yeah. That's a nice thought. Yeah.
Not everybody is aware of. When you see the prices in the web shop, you see a certain price, but once that you register an address from outside of Norway, the Norwegian VAT tax is automatically removed.
Okay.
So some people they have to pay duties for the orders, and some people don't.
Okay.
So that varies from country to country. But what is in common for all foreign deliveries is that 20% is removed.
It's deducted from the price.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's good to know.
Yeah. Oh, Sidsel, I think I have kept you long now. You were just about to go for lunch with your husband, and I caught you here, and you were so nice. So let's say bye-bye. So
Jeg kan ta det på norsk.
Yeah.
Så vil jeg anbefale alle å gå inn på sidselhoivik.no, som er navnet på både Instagram, Facebook og nettsiden min, eller webshoppen min da.
Yeah.
So
we'll do that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sidsel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm back home in my own garden now, and putting this video together with all the lovely experiences and learnings from the Yarn Festival. And as you can see, it's still lovely weather. Actually, it's kind of heat wave here in Denmark. It's only 3rd of May, and I'm sitting here at 9 o'clock in the morning. The birds are singing. Hopefully I can talk louder than the birds. And I hope you will enjoy the scenery being outside. I thought this would be quite appropriate when we now have the sun here in Denmark. So before we continue where I show you the results of my homework from the Sidsel workshop, let me just tell you what else to expect from this video. So we will look over the learnings from Henius Knitwear, spicing up your knitwear, and we will look at some different types of yarn and textures that I got from the workshop. I told myself not to get more yarn, but you know, when learning something new and ideas popping up in your head, you just have to try them out, right? So yeah, and then I was so lucky to get an interview with a very talented Danish designer, Noe, and she will show us some of her designs and some of her lovely yarns. Very different, at least to me. I didn't know of them before, so let's walk through these yarns and designs. The interview is in Danish, but I'll do my very best to translate. And you probably know Sidsel saying that I missed her workshop. Yes, I did. What a bummer. I was so because yeah, it was actually one of the key attractions for me to go to this yarn festival at all. So I walked into the room where this workshop was held, and I said, yeah, is it here that the workshop with Sidsel is beginning? They said, yeah, actually not. It's here where the workshop is ending with Sidsel. Oh, and yeah, but then I stayed, and they told me and showed me what they had been doing, and Sidsel was so kind to have this interview with me after her workshop. But how could this happen to me? I'm such a structured and planned person. You know, when I attend a yarn festival, I download the program, I look at it very closely, all the exhibitioners and everything, and I make a route plan and plan out what to see so that I don't miss anything. And also for this workshop, I had done the same. However, somehow I had seen wrong. I didn't write it wrong. I actually wrote that the workshop would start at 10 in the morning, but I had gotten into my head that it started at 1 o'clock. So yeah, it hasn't happened to me before. But anyway, that's how life goes. But as we say in Denmark, nothing is so bad that it's not good for something. So now I had the interview with Sidsel, and yes, he's so talented and nice, you could hear. So let's look at my workshop. Why my homework? Because this was yet another homework, because when I got home, I got the materials from Sidsel that she handed out. So I just had to do it by myself when coming at home and try to figure this out. So here you are, the yarns and textures and small samples from this festival. So I'll just pick up the one from Sidsel. And maybe if you saw the episode where I talked about preparing for the workshop, you heard me talking about 2 gauge watches to do, and this one with the roses. Oh, this one with the roses. So let me just show you, because this was very new to me. I haven't done, I did cross stitches as a child, very young child. My mom told me cross stitches, and I did kind of a wall hanging piece. But otherwise, I just got this one and trying to learn all the stitches. So let me just walk them over. So we were taught, the others were taught, I have the paper here, how to do duplicate stitches. Yeah, so if you make 2 color fair isle or color work, you can add more colors to your work just by doing these duplicate stitches. And that's actually what Sidsel is doing, she told us, yeah. And there are these chain stitches, and contour stitches. So chain stitches you can use for making leaves or the drawing you want on your knitwear, and so is the contour stitch. However, the contour stitch is a bit thinner, so it would be a finer structure on the finished piece. And then we have millefleur stitches if you want to make kind of a flower, and these French knots you can use as what's it called, the crown or the middle of a flower, for example. You typically use them in clusters, not just one. And there are these, what she calls jernbanesting. I don't know what they are called in English. Maybe you could help me. It's done like this. Okay, so let's look at mine. I think when you haven't done this before, it's actually a bit hard, especially when being a perfectionist, because you have to pick the right place on your knitwear to do it. And these millefleur stitches, have a look. It's done, and I tried some French knot. I think I got better at it, you have to start, right, and just practice. And these are the chain stitches, and I made these, what was they were called contour stitches. They got a bit wide for me, so I have to practice a bit more. But for me, it's like, it's not the stitch in itself, it's more like the placement on the knitwear to make it look nice and with symmetry and so on. But I guess you can't learn in just half an hour, right? So, but I think I had a bit more success with the chain stitches here and the duplicate stitches. So what I did on these roses, I did like Sidsel is doing on her designs. It's, you can see here, it's not like they are not looking quite the same, but I guess with a bit of experience, I only did one here because I'm so busy still with tree trunk pattern and so on. But I think I can do this. With a bit more practice, it'll look nice. And I thought, well, this is rather, I needed some contrasting colors to make them work. And I actually think you can play a lot with this, just as Sidsel does, and make the flower stand out in nice ways, and actually also use colors that you would maybe not necessarily use. I think I held it upside down, but anyway, so that's what I've been playing with, and I definitely think that I will try this out. But it's like, you have to knit up your sweater and be happy with it, and then expect more hours. I don't know how many, but at least some to do all this extra spicing up and embroidery. But I think that's, what do we call in Denmark? It's hyggeligt. It's cozy, like you sit still and get into your own head and do your very best to make this very nice. Yeah. Before we continue with Henius knitwear, let's do a bit of knitting exercise. Have a look here. In the middle of the yarn festival, we were what is called invited to join some exercise, and that's actually very good. If you sit a lot still knitting, you definitely need to get up and get the blood circulated. So okay, let's move on to Henius knitwear. So it is held by Mette Henius, and wow, also a very, very lovely workshop. She is so skilled and talented, and she said, just pick my brain. And saying that to me, I always have a lot of questions, so I asked, and I got much wiser on everything, not just what she had intended to teach at the workshop, but everything about designing knitwear and tips and tricks. So that was very, very fortunate and very nice. Okay, but we were taught how to do different kind of borders when casting on, and let me show you one of these. So it's kind of a knot, and it's made in this glitter yarn. Can you see it? I also have a picture of it. And then we were taught on how to put on these beads. And let me see, I bought a small hook. It's here, it's 0.75 millimeters. I don't know what that is in inches, but as you can see, it's very, very small. And she said when starting this, she would recommend that we have the beads with 0.9 millimeters for the hole. And I will just show you. It was actually very easy. I had seen some videos before on how to do it and how to predict with the yarn and with the beads and where to sit and so on. But actually, you start knitting here, and I haven't got any beads here, but then you just put on the bead here and pull the yarn through that you have in through the hole, and you just knit the stitch, and there you go. It sits, and as she showed us, it sits in the middle, so it's not pulling back on the side or front on the side. It sits just in the middle, and you can. She was showing us this with a heavy blouse, and she held in just one bead, and it keeps sitting right in place, and that's nice. So we were what's it called, asked to do different structures and see how the yarn works together. Of course, when you make a design in this way, you have to foresee how to change the needle size between the different structures, but it actually works. You can see here I continued with this silk mohair and just added a second thread of a thread with sequins. You can see here it's very thin, and this gives another look, so you can do stripes. And then we were taught these what's it called, basket weave stitches, but I don't know what I did on this one. I thought, and I have redone, you can see in a second, because these ones, they don't go under and over, they just go in one direction. So of course, if you didn't know it should be otherwise, you would still think this could be a pattern. And then we did it with a slight different, with helixes for DNA, she called it. It's the same way, just without the extra stitch to forskyde, to move it one stitch to get this over and under. Let me just see. I tried to make it here at home to redo and see if I could do it, and you can see here. Great, right? I will show you some of her designs where she has used this pattern for, for a cuff, or you can do it as a neckband, or it's quite nice. And I also made at home this cast on. So this is in wool. It was just to try it out, but with these beads, so you can make nice, I'm thinking baby knitwear now, having a girl, because my daughter is expecting a girl, so the first girl, so we can play around with different cuffs. Yeah, and then I-cords. We talked about I-cords, and we can start up with an I-cord and end with an I-cord. And this one is a bit different because you have a knit and purl and knit and purl. So typically you would have 3 or 4 or 5 knit stitches, but here we did knit, purl, knit, and it looks like this, and it actually sits a bit better. You can see the I-cord here, it's okay, but it gives a different kind of structure when you do it like this. So there are so many possibilities, and I think you will have to let yourself play around sometimes, not being so result. I'm talking to myself now, being so result oriented to have a sweater and the next sweater and the next sweater, but just play around some more playful knitting to get ideas and do something else, and you can figure it out. So when talking to Henius and all her tips and tricks and being so much wiser, I went back to the fair again to look at the yarn, and I found the painter's yarn shop. Before we move on to Karen's interview, let me shortly introduce her in English here. She is a Danish designer and originally educated within graphic design. I don't know what it's called when you translate grafisk designer in Danish. Is it illustrator? I don't know, but at least she worked for many years as advertising designer at a bureau, and then she got a weave from her grandmother, and then she started weaving and starting weaving garments. And I guess she was a bit ahead of her times back then, because it was more like you wove for functional pieces like blankets and towels and so on. So that's what she did for a Swedish magazine. But then she moved on, also worked as a freelancer for many years, but then she moved on to knitting because it was hard to make a living out of selling woven stuff. So she moved on to knitting, and she says that she loves her designer job, and being on these yarn festivals, it's kind of a job holiday for her. She loves meeting new people and seeing what's going on. And she shows her one of her designs, which she calls mønsterbryder. That means pattern breaker. It's kind of you could literally see the patterns breaking into new ones, but it's also like in Danish, I don't know the English word, but when you, for example, when your parents have one education and you kind of do something very different, it's kind of pattern breaker in how your family is educated. So many meanings of this, I guess. So and then she moves on talking about colors, and when she says this det her design topper, that means that is the bestseller right now. And so this pattern breaker pattern is or sweater is her bestseller right now. And she moves on to talk about colors and favorite colors, and actually the Danes prefer blue colors, and maybe that has a reason, she says, because a pale complexion is good with blue colors and colder colors. And she talks about different complexions which will wear different kinds of colors, and you can do this color testing and so on. And she moves on to the yellow sweater, and the yellow sweater, she says, very few people, only the fall complexions, they can wear yellow, but they love yellow when looking at it in the workshop. And you also make something which will not be bought to wear, but it looks good on the website, she says. But you can kind of turn green in your head when you wear yellow if it's not the right choice for you and your complexion. Yeah, and then she talks about the yarn that she has chosen for this mønsterbryder, and it's actually made from mink and cashmere wool and viscose, and she gets this yarn from China. It sounds very, very interesting. She calls it Mimi, and I will put on some of the details for this yarn. I will definitely try this out. It looked so good, this sweater, and very, very good. Yeah, And she talks about these minks from China, and the hair grow out and they shave them twice yearly and to use for the yarn. Yeah, I think that's about it for the first interview. Let's see it.
Hej, jeg er Karen, og jeg elsker mit job som strikdesigner og være med på messer. Egentlig så er jeg reklametegner, har en grafisk uddannelse og var på reklamebureau. Fik derefter min farmors læge, gik ind i vævning et stykke tid. Derefter blev det strik, fordi det er det, man kan leve af. Kan man ikke have vævning, der er for få, men det er meget, meget spændende. Og så fordi min uddannelse er lidt anderledes, så bliver mine ting sikkert også anderledes. Den der topper i øjeblikket, det er den her. Jeg kan godt se, at den er anderledes.
Ja, super flot.
Den er ensfarvet, så folk elsker kunderne eller strikkerne elsker flerfarvede ting.
Ja, hvad kalder du den?
Den hedder mønsterbryderen.
Mønsterbryderen.
Det er samtidig min strikker. Jeg strikker det jo ikke selv det her. Jeg laver en prøve til kunderne. Garnet, det hedder mini. Det er med mink og kashmir og uld og viskose. Får jeg fra Kina.
Ja.
Det er ikke de flotte danske mink. Den bruger de bestemt ikke til garn, men deres egne, som ikke var så fine, de putter de i garn. Barberer minken 2 gange om året, så det vokser ud igen. Og så blander minkfibrene med uld og kashmir.
Spændende.
Ja, det synes jeg.
Har du eksempler på det garn, vi lige kan kigge på?
Ja, det ligger her. Det var sådan en anden model, vi har lavet. Den toppede faktisk også.
Ja.
Men her, der ligger en hel masse farver, så man kan blive fristet.
Ja.
Alt det her, det er min.
Hvad er din oplevelse af farver, der topper? Hvad er folk interesseret i?
Danskerne, det er jo blå farver, der klæder dem.
Ja.
Men det er jo så sjovt, at når vi laver en gul model, som nu her,
Ja.
så den fanger virkelig øjet. Den kan danskerne godt lide, men det er jo ikke ret mange danskere, der kan bære den.
Nej, den er skarp gul.
Ja, fordi man bliver lidt grøn i hovedet, hvis man har noget gul på.
Okay.
Men folk kan godt lide at se den, og det betyder jo også meget for mig, at hjemmesiden er spændende.
Ja.
Det er jo ikke det hele, det sælger lige godt, men bare folk synes, at den er spændende at se på.
Ja.
Det betyder en hel del.
Ja. Nu er jeg lidt nysgerrig på, når du siger, at afhængig af hvilken farve man tager på, så får ens ting, er det hedder en anden kulør, ansigt en anden kulør. Så når man har gul på, bliver det lidt grønt, siger du?
Jamen, det gør det.
Ja.
Hvis man er bleg og lys i huden, så er man det, hvis man får sådan en test.
Ja.
Så er man jo sommer.
Ja.
Og hvis man er vinter, så kan man tage de der stærke, kolde farver.
Ja.
Det er vintertypen. Og piger, som har brunt hår og som en glød der, de kan tage en gul, og de kan tage en olivengrøn, og sådan nogle ting.
Ja.
Men jeg tror, at det har du sikkert også set.
Ja.
Folk piger i forkert, hvad skal man sige, noget der ikke klæder deres hud.
Ja.
Så er det kommer til pludselig at se grønne ud.
Jeg synes, man tænker meget over det, når folk lige har ramt farven, så tænker man, wow, hvor du gløder og flot i dag.
Ja, det er nemlig rigtigt. Ja, og der er de fleste danskere, det er blå farver.
Ja.
Ja, altså kolde, og måske ikke alt for mørke farver.
Okay, ja.
Så det er meget spændende. Det er meget spændende at arbejde med.
Ja.
Men jeg opfatter mit job som min hobby.
Ja.
Og når jeg er på messer, så siger jeg, at det er en arbejdsferie.
Ja.
Ja. Jeg synes, det er så hyggeligt at komme ud og snakke med folk. Alle er jo i godt humør og begejstret.
Ja.
Så det er jo sjovt. Og her i Faaborg, der er der sket så mange ting med modeshow og arrangementer, så det er dejligt. Ja.
Ja. In the next clipping with Karen, she talks about some of her other yarns, very unique yarns. I haven't seen them before, so interesting. And one she's calling a lace yarn, this one. We will look at it after her clipping. She kindly gifted me one skein here. And this yarn is made from cotton and silk. And she makes wonderful summer tees and so on with this yarn, and also a skirt. But you can see in the clipping. And then she has another type of yarn, and it's a recycled yarn coming from the garment a sari worn by Indian women. And the Indian women, they take this silk from the saris and they scratch it up and cut it up into becoming yarn to knit with. So Karen uses this for kind of borders for garments or for accessories, and she shows us here a bag that she has made. So very, very interesting. Yeah, I think let's look at the clip.
Noget af salg til toppen den her gang, det er noget, der er helt specielt. For eksempel det her, som jeg kalder blondegarn, det er fra Mexico. Det har sådan en sjov facon, hvor blonderne hænger på garnet. Man strikker faktisk kun omkring den her kant, som I kan se.
Spændende
her for eksempel. Ja, så strikker man op, og så er der en bundfarve. Så strikker man næste række. Og så til sidst, man strikker jo der, når det ligger sådan.
Ja.
Så til sidst, så bøjer man det ned. Sådan. Så der er forskellige farver. Jeg håndfarver dem selv. Det er faktisk 25 år siden, jeg begyndte at håndfarve. Det var før, det blev rigtig moderne.
Ja.
Og mine farver, de kan farve bomber. Der er bomber og silke her.
Okay.
Men i hvert fald det her garn, det kan laves alt muligt af. Her er en lille hula hop. Nederdel.
Ja.
De små piger.
Wow.
Ja. Det der, det var en bluse, hvor vi har på ærmerne.
Ja, det kan være, at du lige holder den op, så kan vi se den.
Ja, lad os prøve det. Sådan ser den.
Ej, hvor er den bare frisk og sommerlig.
Og det sidste, der er lavet, det er en lille taske.
Ja.
Der har vi vendt den kraftige kant ud af, så det giver noget sjovt.
Ja.
Og så er det hæklet omkring.
Ja. Ja.
Og den tror jeg, at lille pige bliver rigtig glad for, at hun kunne få sådan en.
Ja.
Det er det ene af de der lidt spændende garner, lidt anderledes garner, vi har.
Ja.
Selvfølgelig alle er anderledes, fordi vi laver selv vores hørgarn også, og Mimi er fra Kina. Men vi har den her.
Ja.
Det er lavet af sarier fra Indien og Nepal.
Ja, og kan du forklare lidt, hvad er sari?
En sari-silke, det er de der beklædning, som indere og nepaleser de bruger. Det hedder en sari.
Ja.
En lang beklædning i silke.
Ja.
Når de så er for gamle, eller hvad ved jeg, de vil bruge dem mere, så sidder der kvindegrupper derovre, som alle sammen har forskellige job. Nogle de krasser det her op og laver garn af det, og derfor er det også forskelligt i tykkelsen. Fordi det er forskellige kvinder, der sidder.
Ja.
Andre kvinder, de er ude og slå fast på bryllup, spiller garnet op, silken op, og nogle farver og nogle væver. Strik, det gør de nok ikke, men vævningen, det har I alle sammen set, tror jeg, de flotte vævninger over fra Østen. Men det er en form for, det er silke, men det hedder sari, fordi det er fra sarierne. Ja. Det er jo ikke det fine silke,
det er genbrug. Ja,
det er genbrug, ja. Og der har vi jo lavet nogle flotte ting her, synes jeg i hvert fald. Ja. En lille taske her, og det er en taske, hvor vi har sat på i kanten. Sådan, bare nogle rilleret.
Ja, så det er ret riller.
Ja.
Ja.
Og på herom, ligesom for at man kan se, at der sker noget i forskning, så har jeg lavet et broderi.
Ja. Ja. Og hvad hedder de sten? Jeg er helt uvidende.
Ja, altså det ved jeg ikke. Fladsten.
Okay.
Det er hjemmelavet sten.
Okay. Ja.
Og så for at jeg ikke kan hæfte trådene, så sætter jeg lige et stykke visseline på. Det ser ikke så godt ud, men altså, det er min bagdel i det der.
Ja, ja.
Her er den anden taske, som jeg virkelig synes er super flot. Her har jeg kombineret med almindelig garn, for at skille et parti af. Så sætter herop, kører tilbage.
Så striberne er almindeligt garn?
Ja, det er almindelig uld.
Ja.
Det kunne være hvad som helst.
Ja.
Og så er det vendepinde, så det bliver bredere herude.
Ja, smart.
Så når et parti er færdigt, så gentager jeg det.
Ja.
Ikke også?
Ja.
Og så har jeg foret med et stykke silke.
Ja, flot. Ja.
Så det er nogle af de idéer, som vi har.
Ja.
Den er der. Ja.
Tak. Tusind tak.
Selv tak.
Let's have a look at this fantastic hand-dyed yarn from Karen. I'm not sure I pronounce it right, but it's called Guadalajara. And it's made of cotton linen silk, as she said, hand dyed by herself. And she actually started dyeing her own yarns 24 years ago. Again, being a bit ahead of her time. It was not so popular back then to dye your own yarns, but she did. And let's have a look at it. So the lace is like this. So when you see the T, it's not like you knit this. When you see all the ruffles here, or should we call it ruffle, or then it's actually the yarn, and you can knit around this more sturdy edge of the yarn or this one, depending on what you like, she says. So I also got this pattern, so you can see here she calls this blouse with lace sleeves. So so these sleeves, she tells in the video that you kind of knit 5 or 8 rows depending on your taste, and then you make a pearl ridge or something where you I think I heard it like this, and then you knit this one onto the pearl ridge, and then you move knit stitch, do knit stitches again, and then add one of this, and then it turns out to be this kind of sleeve. So I will try making one for the little new baby girl coming in August. Yeah, wonderful. And when we talked on, Karen and I, and she talked about her whole life and what she was doing, and that she really enjoyed these yarn festivals. It was kind of a job holiday, and she revealed her age. She is 84 years old. Wow, I wouldn't have guessed. I thought she was kind of 62 or something. She is so vivid and agile, could we say that? I'm very impressed. You know, she's running around and unpacking and packing her car for the whole booth and so on, standing up all day for more days. Yeah, you couldn't tell. She's an amazing woman. So thank you very much, Karen, for the interview, and I will show here some more of her designs for you to see, and I would really recommend you to pass by her website and see some of her designs and lovely yarns for yourself. So I will link it below. Now, when talking about dyed yarns, let me tell you of yet another booth that I visited at the Yarn Festival, and it is held by Joan, and you can see Joan here. She calls her company Painter's Yarn, and she had a lot of lovely yarns and colors and whatnot. And now talking about pattern breakers from Noe. In her family, it is tradition within the painting profession, so painting houses and walls and so on. And she has kind of taken this skill within paints and colors to hand dyeing her yarn. And so let's look at it, because she also handed out a folder on how to treat hand-dyed yarns, and I find this very helpful because she talks about what you do before and after and how you wash it and so on. And we can look at these tips and tricks in a second, but let me just show you the yarn, because I was so inspired by the Henius workshop with the different textures. And you know, I've been so occupied with this Viking Eco Highland wool lately, loving these Highland wools being natural, undyed actually, and no chemicals. And then I saw at her shop this one, and she calls it, what was it, bear? No, teddy, I think. That makes sense. So this is also a Highland wool, And I thought I could make something funny out of this combined with this one. You know, I show you pictures afterwards. It's very popular now in Denmark to combine different textures and very bright colors and experiment. But I think maybe I will start slow and just combine different textures in a garment and see how it works. And then I bought this one of her hand-dyed yarns. Isn't it lovely? It's shades of salmon, or should we call it apricot? It's called blush here. And I also have this one, so it will go well along with this one. She uses this as a follow thread, but I learned at Henius Knitwear you can also do it, have one thin in between all this. I don't have a full picture in my head yet, but I will do something. But it's a kid silk, and there should be enough to play with one sweater for myself with these. So that's it's so lovely. The thrill of lovely and soft yarns. So let me pass on some of the tips and tricks from Joan, how to handle undyed yarns. So before you knit with it, you can, if you want to make extra sure, you can rinse the water again, or rinse the yarn again to see if there's some excess dye, to make totally sure that it will not rub off on the other color you have. Of course, she has rinsed the water and there should not be much excess dye in it. And she also recommends that when you wind up the yarn, you put the different skeins next to each other to see the variation and arrange them in the order that fits the best, so that you don't end up having a very dark one with a very light one. And that's a good tip. So when you do the knitting, there are different kinds of ways to do it. She mentions more ways, but one way is to knit two rounds or rows with one skein and then two with another, and alternate between the skeins. Yeah, you can also, if you make a sweater with Fair Isle patterning, and when you change in the chart or the pattern, you can take a new skein and it will not be so visible if there is a variation. Yeah, how to wash hand-dyed yarns. She says do it in cold water, not warm water, because otherwise it could break some of the bondings in the dye, and and then the yarn will start to rub off. So use cold water, and always, if you wash in the washing machine, use a wool program with low spinning speed and a bag, put it in a bag. But however, she recommends not to use the washing machine, but just do the hand wash, and not so often, just let it vent in the fresh air. And okay. Never soak a hand-dyed yarn. Use a wool detergent. Don't use a softener, we know that one from wool. And don't squeeze like this a wet garment. Only do like this. And that's tips and tricks. And I was not aware about this with the bonding, so maybe that's why when I wash the wool and we do it in lukewarm water, maybe it's better to do in the cold water, not to break the bonding of the dye, even if it's commercial dye. I don't know. I never thought of this. I will definitely, in the science way, dig more into it. It intrigues my science gene. Okay. Yeah, so now talking also about the yarn, maybe I should show you that before issuing the pattern on the tree trunk sweater, I'm doing a last round of testing to see a potential difference between the non-dyed yarns, the natural color wool, and the dyes, commercial dyed yarns. So I've made 2 samples of each so that it's very easy for me and for you to see when I wash and block one and compare it to the other one, how does it look. But I can tell you that right now it is just the same when knitted up with the same needle. It's the same gauge for everyone. So let's see what happens after dyeing if something unexpected happens. Yes, and that was the Viking Eco Highland wool for the tree trunk sweater. And I just finalized the one I will be wearing at the troubleshoot. No, not troubleshoot. I will be wearing at the photo shoot on Sunday. And I also finalized one at the Yarn Festival. You can see a picture here of me blocking it in the hotel room. So it's sitting here, and we did a try-on session after the festival, and it was spot on 2 of the models I brought there. So that's great. So now I just wait for this one, the final one, for myself to it's still damp, so I just wait for it to dry up and shrink to expected size. Where am I now with the tree trunk sweaters? Besides the final testing on different colors to see if it behaves differently when blocking, besides the 10 other sweaters I've made where I know how it behaves, but just to make sure before releasing the pattern. And I have started now doing the tutorial. I'll make yet another one sweater and do a tutorial on how to knit up this sweater. And yeah, we will do the photo shoot on Sunday, and yeah, I will just be cozy doing the final edits on the pattern, and yeah, have fun with it and enjoy the release on the 17th of May. And more of the test knitters have finalized their knits now, and some more to go, so it is very interesting to see their results. Yeah, so now the sun is coming over the roof and I will get it in my eyes, so it's perfect. Now we have reached the end of the episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I can highly recommend visiting this yarn festival. I guess there will be a new one next year in lovely Faaborg on Funen, Denmark. So Roger and over from Ingesknittinglab, color me happy. Bye bye.